This is getting crazy. The guy's talking about sleeping in his car. I'm not leaving. Cops come. The guy thought it was also a test that the cops were there. This is how crazy this guy was.
This is the power of building a brand, right?
I want to win. And if I don't win, I ain't giving up.
Started his business from nothing, that was 2018. Became top salesman in the country, multiple times had a dream. He would scale up his company and train thousands of people. Give you knowledge and teach you, don't let the problems defeat you. Launching Profit Rocket.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Profit Rocket podcast. This is episode number 12. Today I got an exciting young hustler on the podcast. His name's Danny Klein, 23 years old, kicking ass. He is the head, I don't know what the hell to call you.
Marketing for the company, sales executive, team leader. Wear a couple different hats over here.
All right. He's a sales executive for Elliott Group, which is a fast-growing sales organization that helps people in all different genres learn how to sell and sell at a higher level. But not only that, how to level up in business and in life, which is kind of the most important part. And that's why I wanted to bring him on here, because it's not all about business, right? Doing business is one thing, but how do you level up your life? And that's kind of what the Elliott Group's about. So, Danny, welcome to the podcast, man. Excited to have you on.
Sweet, pleasure to be here, man. I'm super excited, and you hit the head right on the nail right on the head. With all areas of life, I think a lot of guys will go and try to kill it in different areas. They'll go and try to be the best salesperson, but they lack it in their family life or they lack in their fitness life. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, what is true wealth? You got to have all three, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and a lot of guys, I mean, I know, a lot of entrepreneurs, man, and they always say, I'm doing it for my family, right?
Yeah.
And then their family's nowhere to be found, right? They're not with them. They're not home with their family. They're just spending too many hours at work. And I think that was something I talked to actually Andy about. We had a conversation at my event, and he started kind of bringing that up, and I was like, that's true, man. A lot of these guys are like that. So you want to kind of talk what it is like, because I know you're working with Andy every day too. I mean, having his wife there, you got your beautiful girlfriend here. She says she travels everywhere with you. Yeah, she's cool. I'll deal with her for now. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, no, it's awesome working with a group of guys. I got my assistant Sean, I got my girlfriend Val here. It's amazing to be able to have people that support you. The team is everything. I think our biggest thing with our company that people don't really understand yet is our team is everything. We run everywhere. Our whole team is all involved in building the company, is all involved in helping. It's like you don't just get Andy, you get a whole support system, you get a whole team. But back to the family thing, I grew up with divorced parents. I grew up split. Father delivered freaking Domino's for years. He had a disability. Mom wasn't really present. She was working, trying to support the household. And I kind of pretty much raised myself. So seeing that, not having that family, growing up, I'm young, I don't have kids or anything. I'm not married or anything yet, but I can know that I want to be able to pave the way to be able to have all three. I don't just want to have, just have money. I want to be able to have money, family, fitness. I want to be able to have all those things. So being around guys like Andy, being around guys like Jackie, the marriage that they've built, the team that they've built, how they've impacted my life, I want to be able to replicate that and.
And the power of mentorship is huge, right? I remember being your age, right? 23, which is still crazy. You don't act like yourself if you're 23. You don't carry yourself like you're 23. And a lot of that does come back to mentors, right? So you want to talk about that a little bit? You're 23. What were you doing before you got into this? And how do you think you've grown over the last couple of years? Because, I've been around you the last couple of days, and I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't act like a 23-year-old, because I was wild as shit at 23.
No, hell no. So I guess I'll start. I went to college for maybe a semester, partied, just like you said, fucking crazy as shit. Did a lot of drugs, smoked a lot of weed, drank, partied, was around the wrong crew. 6 months in, and Gary Vee was kind of the guy that was my first kind of exposure to, the self-development space and just watching guys that had a different perspective, because surrounded a bunch of losers. So I'm watching this guy, and he's like, fuck this, you don't need college. And I'm just obsessive. I'm watching it over and over and over. I stopped showing up to classes, and I'm just immersing myself in YouTube content from different guys. And I'm like, you know what, fuck this, I'm not going back. So drop out of school, parents are like, what are you gonna do? Hey, are you okay? I'm like, dude, I'll figure it out. I'm not fucking going back. I'll figure it out. So delivered Chinese food for about a year, some change, worked some bullshit jobs, was making $3,000 a month. I have a one-bedroom apartment with my dad. He's sleeping on the couch. He gives me the one bedroom just to kind of give you the type of man he was. And he actually ended up passing away 2 years ago. Crazy incident. I'll get into that. But grew up with him, split parents, delivered Chinese food. Then I started selling cars. So I'm working out one day, and I'm in the gym, and I see one of my buddies I used to wrestle with. And I'm like, yo, what's up, man? How you been? We're shooting this shit. And he's like, how you been? I'm like, yeah, delivering Chinese food, kind of embarrassed to even fucking talk to anybody. And I'm like, how have you been? He's like, well, I'm selling cars. And I'm like, how's that? He's like, well, it's fucking great. And I'm like, what's great? And he's like, well, I made $15,000 last month. And I was the head, like I was the captain for the wrestling team while he was on fucking JV. And I'm like, dude, this guy's making $15,000. I was like, dude, it was like one of the most piercing moments of my life where I was like, dude, I feel like I just let this kid down. And long story short, his dad was a general manager of a dealership. And he's like, I'll get you a job. Didn't have any confidence. I fucking sat on it for about 3 months until I finally got fed up with smoking weed, playing video games, and delivering Chinese food for the next 90 days. And then went in, got my ass kicked for about 6 months, and then COVID hit. So, like, I was probably selling 8 cars a month. I'm in an old school store. Like, these veterans are stomping all over me. New guys don't last. Hey, fuck you, right? That's my appointment. They wouldn't let you get any kind of leads. So I find Andy on YouTube. COVID hits. COVID is just like, they're like, hey, we're going to lay off half of the floor. If you guys aren't, like, killing it, we're just going to have to let you go. And I'm like, no fucking way. There's no way. I'm looking at these guys that, like, are just dog shit, and they're making $20,000 a month. And I'm like, there's no way that I can't do that. But obviously, looking at myself in the mirror, I'm not as good as I think I am. Find Andy on YouTube. I watch a YouTube video. The next day, I close like a $7,000 or $8,000 deal, make like a $1,500 commission. Still live in a 1-bedroom apartment, still driving around a $2,000 beater. I'm like, holy fuck, that's my way out. I text Andy. This is when he had about 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, if that. I just said, thank you. Changed my fucking life, dude. This is crazy. Get on a phone call. Start training with them, start killing it. I scaled to like $20,000, $30,000 a month selling cars. And I only sold cars for like a little less than 2 years, but I started killing it. Moved all the way up to like one of the top Toyota guys in the country for gross per copy. And then Dad passes away. This is in January of 2021. Dad passes away. He ends up drowning in a pool.
Holy shit.
He had like, we never really figured out, he was like really bad health, right? So he, we never really knew what it was. I still to this day don't know if it was a heart attack, if it was a stroke, or what it was. But I know that he used to pass out a lot. So I think that he passed out, ended up drowning in a pool, and then the next day, I text Andy and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I want you to come work for me." And it was like God was like, "Hey, this is your fucking mission. This is your path." And I said, "Dude, I'm in." Like broke down in tears. I was like, "Dude, freaking crazy." He had helped me already make this amount of money, and I was like, "Dude, I'm in." So literally 30 days later, after everything kind of, clears over with the family, pack all my shit, sell my shit, move across the country. And that's when we started in the school in Arizona.
I mean, talk about that a little bit, man.
Like, started.
Like the emotions that are already going through that, like you just have a life-changing, altering moment anyways. Mm-hmm. Your dad passing. I lost my dad in 2021 as well. So I kind of understand how that goes. And it's like, it's crazy to even like, when you're going through it, because I still remember when my dad passed, I was in the middle of, hey, I'm about to launch this training company. I'm about to have this. How long ago was this? This was last year. So this was in 2021
same year.
In April. Yeah. So I lost my.
How old was your dad?
He was 56.
56.
Yeah. So he had died. He had health complications for a while and stuff, but it was kind of crazy because I still remember. I'm already at the point where I'm like ready to my life's like ready to change, right? And I still remember my dad didn't die suddenly like yours, so like he was on his deathbed and I remember telling him all the cool shit. I'm like, Dad, I got this going on. I'm about to have this event. I got all these people coming and all this stuff, and I didn't think I really had much time to really grieve it. Like when he passed away, like I was still 100 miles an hour trying to grow it. So how have you dealt with that? Have you just kind of pushed through it?
That's so crazy, and that's such a good question. Because I didn't have any time to really grieve. I think I grieved through helping people. I look up, and what allowed me to grieve was having someone else call me. Because once you're in the coaching space and you're helping people, sales training. We call it sales training. I think it's a label. I think it's life training, right? But as you're coaching people, and they're like, "Hey, my grandma passed away. My dad passed away." You get into these conversations. You start telling them the shit that you need to tell yourself, and you're like. So after call, you start to realize that, like, dude, I haven't even really grieved for myself. But I think I grieve through helping other people. I tell people, I feel like I'm living 2 lives sometimes. You probably feel the same way, where it's like you have an extra strength that was passed on to you because you're moving so fast. You don't have time to have a pity party and get depressed and be like, oh, I need to grieve and go through the normal, grieving process, it's almost like your father was like, dude, here's the strength to go and fucking run.
I think I got, obviously with my dad not passing suddenly, it was a little bit of a relief because, I mean, the sudden thing is difficult, man. And obviously I'm really sorry to hear that. It's the first time talking to you about it. But I with my dad, I remember him being on the deathbed and I'm like, dude, Dad, should I cancel my event? Should I just not push forward with this stuff, And he's like, no, he's like, I'd be fucking pissed if you didn't go do this. He's like, I don't understand it because my dad worked at Home Depot forever, and he never really did much after a 9 to 5,
Yep.
And before he passed, he was working for me. So he got to kind of help me build my business over the last couple of years, which was cool. So I still remember the day I called him. This was in 2018. I just launched the business and my dad's living in San Diego. I said, hey, Dad, I think I got something going here. What's it going to take for you to move back to Huntington Beach and come work for me? And that was the best call I ever made because I got to spend the last couple of years with my dad working with him. But I still remember being on the deathbed. I'm telling him all this stuff. He's like, son, I don't understand any of this shit. He's like, I don't understand how I was trying to rationalize how big this stuff is.
You're thinking really big.
And he's like, dude, what the hell? But he's like, I'll tell you one thing. He's like, I don't want you crying for me, and I just want to make sure that you go chase your dreams and just kind of stuff like that. And I still remember, last year we had Grant Cardone came to my event, and that was, right after my dad passed, 6 months before that. And I'm on stage with Grant Cardone. He's talking about his dad, and I'm like, holy shit! Like both of us.
That's
were
so
like,
crazy.
Don't do it.
That's so crazy to think about.
But
it's definitely molded us to be like my girlfriend always tells me, she's like, you don't seem like 23. And I think when something like that happens, like in a man's life, you grow up very fast. Stuff shifts very fast in your life.
Yeah. So circling back to the car dealership, it's kind of crazy. We have a similar story. You just got to start a little bit younger than me, which, jealous because by the time you're my age, I think you're going to be a very, very successful person, which is badass. So circling back, you got into cars, you got that first big paycheck, and you're like, dude, I remember my first big paycheck doing HVAC sales, and the same as you, dude. Like when I was trying to figure out a way to get out of what I was doing because I had no money. I was broke, driving the $2,000 beater.
Yep.
And I still remember the first time they showed me the pay plan for what I did. I'm gonna get paid that much. I called my chick. I literally called my chick. I said, "You're never working another day in your life." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You gotta wait till you see what they're gonna pay me to do this shit." So kind of similar story. But what resonated with me is that you're having that conversation with Andy, who's doing all these YouTube videos and all this stuff, and that's kind of where I'm at now. And it's kind of cool because I'm getting the same thing as you. Is I'm getting these guys that have been watching me, and you never get praise. So anybody that does watch YouTube videos, stuff like that, reach out to the guy and say thank you. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm like, am I doing this?
It's the compound effect, I think, of everyone thinking that, you're famous now or you're a celebrity. It's like, dude, we're the same type of people you guys are, except we just have to shoot a couple videos for the business.
well, I think it drives me too, because I think that's one thing is you don't get in you're like, man, is it even worth it? And am I helping people? And then you get the people like you and you get the success stories and someone's like, dude, your videos changed my life. Your videos, I started making more money than I've ever made before. So I think it's a big deal. And I think that's, what we're doing now and what you're doing now is you get to be in that opportunity, right? So you quit your job. Making $20,000 a month?
Yeah, so I quit I was like 20. I think my best month was just shy of like $30,000 a month. And I actually ended up switching to a different dealership because I thought I was hot shit and it ended up not being the opportunity. So it was like everything kind of fell in line. And it was funny, like you had the conversation with your father before he had, passed away. I was telling my dad the same thing. I'm like, hey, I'm going back out to train, I'm about to make the shift and this and that. But no, I was making almost $30,000 a month. And then Andy calls me, and it's like, hey, come. Didn't ask for a pay plan. Like, you had the pay plan laid out. I'm like, fuck it. This guy showed me how to make $30,000. Like, I'm just going to go, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to build this thing. So I went back to, not really making a whole lot to help build this thing off the ground. We're selling $300 courses, $100 courses, seminars for $1,000. And it's like, dude, it's a big change going straight from in-person sales to phone sales. And then also you're coaching people. It's like you went from making $250,000 a year to now you're like back to making like $5,000 and you're coaching people how to make $300,000. It's like, shit, you go through this. Am I an imposter? Holy shit. But then it's like, I have the capabilities to do this. I'm just in a different business and I'm building, but now I've scaled way past that. And then just been killing it.
So, talk about that a little bit. I mean, you start out and everyone thinks that you just start out a training company, you start making money, right? Like hand over fist. And it's not the case. And you guys are selling $300 courses. Like, where's the money in that, right? And
yeah.
You want to talk about the early stages of you coming in? Like, how did you make money? Like, what did you make off $300? Like, there's not much money to go around.
$80.
$80.
$80. So My first day was with Sean Pollard, and these guys have built everything. My biggest part in all this is just pushing and help spread the message to Randy. This guy has literally the one that's built all the videos. He's built the whole business. I'm a supplement that's added to him, and also been given opportunity to help branch and to build on top of it. But dude, it was crazy coming in because like I got handed a stack of leads, good old paper stack of leads, like a movie, and I'm like, what's this? And he's like, well, these are all people that have ever inquired about anything, and I'm like, all right, I got a highlighter and I got a pen, and I just went down the line, just started checking in. And the way my style was, I didn't really try to go and just hard close like everybody. I went in was just trying to like give value, kind of like Gary Vee, jab, right hook, and then that helped me kind of just kill it out of the gate.
So I mean, the power of that, I mean, I think this is a conversation every sales organization has, right?
Yeah.
Is calling the fucking leads. Like that's
People don't call the fucking leads, dude.
And that's I think that's the hardest thing. And we talked about this at dinner last night about other ways to get engaged with people now, and we'll go over that a little bit. But I mean, the power of just picking up the leads. Like, so we have a mutual, I guess, friend, right? And he's an employee of mine now, and he couldn't get a sale for the first couple of weeks, and I'm like, dude, why haven't you sold anything? Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I haven't had any leads. I'm like, you're waiting for leads to come in. Right now, I gave you a list of hundreds and hundreds of people to go dial, probably over 1,000 people to dial. If you called any of them, well, no. And the magic, all of a sudden he started dialing. He's like, oh, I got a bunch of leads. I got these things set. I'm like, dude, that's literally all you got to do. And I think that's what literally separates the companies that can't figure it out to the companies that figure it out is like the sales portion of it. So you want to talk about a little bit about that, because I know Andy's big on phone sales, right?
Everything is phone sales. I think honestly, it is a numbers game. But the way that you're getting, so it's like you get handed a stack of 100 leads. The way that you're going to get those deals is one call at a time, one person at a time, one connection at a time, and just really trying to figure out, hey, why do I have this person's information? And we always believe that, like, if I have this person's information, they knocked on the door, they're here in person, that I got their information for a reason. And whether they did or didn't buy, it has nothing to do with me. Because if I'm on the phone with you, I'm going to get you to pass go. I'm going to figure out what your real problem is. But it just comes down to just really believing in yourself. Like I think people overthink phone sales because they're used to the face-to-face or they're scared of the rejection. And it's almost like they're like paralyzed by the fear and indecision of not knowing what to say, what's coming. And it's like, dude, just jump first, figure out the rest of the shit later.
And I think it's, obviously a lot of home service people listen to this. And one of the biggest failures in our industry is not calling the leads after someone leaves. So someone goes to the house, rep goes to the house, he quotes the person, he leaves there. And they're expecting that sales guy to keep following up, and they don't put anybody internally to call it. And what happens when you're a sales rep that's fed 4 leads a day, and you keep getting 4 leads every single day? You think you're going to keep following up with everybody?
Stop following up with the old leads.
Yeah, you're not hungry. Like you just keep getting fucking spoon fed all day. You're not even going to worry about those. And when I come into companies and I start talking to them and I say, look, you want to make, I'll say $2 million to the bottom line next year. They're like, well, how can I do that? I said, you're not going to need any more customers than you already have. How's that possible? I'm like, watch. I said, give me one of your reps, anybody in your office. Let me teach them for an hour, and I will show them exactly how to add $1 million plus to your bottom line every single year. And they're like, that's bullshit. And I said, okay, watch.
It's the truth.
And literally half the time, I'm like, all you have to do is call and say, hey, this is Victor with Absolute Airflow. I was just calling to do a quality assurance check. And then we just figure out how the call went. And then from there, you can adjust. And then you get to figure out where your bottom line needs to be, right?
We actually have an event strictly for it's called the Boiler Room. So we had about probably 80 people come out from all around the country. And we tell these guys to bring 1,000 leads. And from 9 to 5, they're all cold, old leads, previously sold customers, just people that have done business with their dealership. We ended up setting 1,200 appointments in a span of 10 hours or whatever it is, 8 hours throughout that day from 80 people.
Yeah.
We teach them a specific outreach. And I think the problem is when you're cold calling, you don't have any specific outreach. Like, I think the first 30 seconds of the phone call is the most important, if not the first 5 seconds. Like, what is your intro? Are you waiting for them to give you an objection, or are you taking control and starting to ask them some important questions with some, number 1, authority, and number 2, curiosity? If people don't know that you sound important, or they're not curious to stay on the phone a little bit longer, they're going to say, hey, I'm busy, now's not a good time. You're going to start getting objections, when in reality, you just need to kick the ball a little bit further down the field and continue a conversation.
Yeah, and you got to open up with customers. You got to figure out, how. I feel like the main thing is, as long as you don't call and it sound like you're selling something, that's how I usually lead in. I just call and say, hey, I'm just here to help. I'm trying to figure out how everything went. hey, it looks like you filled out something online from one of our websites. I just wanted to call and see, obviously talk to you a little bit about that and figure out if there's anything else I can help you with. And just a little conversation and getting them talking, right? And then having the right conversation, the right questions to ask is key. So when you guys are calling, I mean, for me, like I have obviously I have a script that we go off of, but then I also have my guys have a cheat code of if you ask these questions, exactly what they do. Is that what you guys kind of teach on, or?
Yeah, so we'll teach. We have objections and word tracks for the car business, for the solar industry. We love to build some out for the HVAC industry, but we've just built out different word tracks for these guys. When someone says, "Hey, I'm not interested. I'll get back with you. I got a few more cars to look at. Hey, what's your best price? What's my payment?" We'll build out those different word tracks so that way when they go in, we call it battle tested. Battle games. Like if I'm going to hit you over and over and over, how you get paid as a salesperson is turning no's into yeses. If you can't get someone from a no to a yes, you're not going to be able to get paid, because literally out of the gate, you're going through, what is the average? It's 8 to 10 no's to get a sale or something.
I think one of the, it's kind of funny. I think one of the hardest sales to make is actually getting people to show up to an event. So you want to talk a little bit about that, because I think that, everybody likes to procrastinate on events because they know that motherfucker ain't going to be sold out till, whatever. And I think, unless there's some kind of incentive, but most of the time you're having to push these people and chase them down for something that I'm going to go get it done later. Do you have anything that you kind of push on that on how do you get these guys to actually move forward? Because if there's no urgency, it's when I'm selling an air conditioner, I can build urgency.
Yep.
When I'm doing this, I can build urgency. But when I got an event fucking 3 months from now, how do you build urgency on that?
We use this thing called quick pops. So I'd say hey, Victor, anything that should be done today shouldn't be put off for tomorrow. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get it done. What's the card? We're gonna use quick pops, and there's probably I'm a one-liner guy. So I have a bunch of different one-liners. I'd be hey Victor, do you believe that you have the potential to make more money? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, why aren't you?
Yeah.
And then they'll be well, I'm being lazy. I'm okay, because you procrastinate, because you're lazy. You're not putting things in place to be able to take action. You've settled. What we basically do is give these guys a pep talk, and then
a lot of people, they're just so stuck with indecision. I think that's part of a lot of people's failure. I would think I make so many decisions a day, and I think you have to make quick decisions and a lot of decisions if you want to be successful. So many guys will sit there and freaking think about it and wait on it and do all this stuff.
I use the analogy of school a lot. A lot of kids that are my age that are 18, 19, 20. A lot of the sales industry, when you get in, you're 18 to 25, right? I think where a lot of people find the sales industry because no one really plans to get in sales. It just kind of happens. I didn't plan to get in the car business. You probably didn't plan to get in sales. It just kind of ended up happening. And, these guys, they stumble in and end up making a whole bunch of money.
And I think because we have a product between the two of us that actually changes people's businesses and lives, I think that's one of the things. It's you have conversation with these people, and I'm same thing with my blueprint or whatever sales training I'm teaching. It's dude, the second you make the decision is going to change your life. You're going to be a different person. You're going to make more money. Your business is going to take off. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys do, because I think obviously you started this business. You're trying to help people, and you're going into different genres now as far as sales. How has that been? Because I know you get labeled as a car salesman. You get labeled as this, right? How has that been?
It's been a quick transition. We honestly got more outreach from different industries. So we have our inbound leads, and we get messages from people, and they'll say, hey, I'm in insurance sales, or hey, I'm in solar, hey, I'm in car sales. Hey, I've had people are hey, I'm a dentist. We get pretty much everything from A to Z, and the market was pretty much there for us because if you look up sales training, there really isn't a whole bunch, or if there is, it's outdated stuff. It's stuff that brings friction into the deal. It's just stuff that doesn't really resonate with post-COVID 21st century communication skills. So people find Andy, and it's really descriptive. It's high energy. It's empathetic, and people love it. So we had a lot of people just reach outbound, and then we just started creating new stuff. Because if I got 10 people, I'd go to Andy. I said, dude, I got 10 solar salespeople. We have a car sales objection training course. We need a solar sales, and then we just start building them. We start taking the same word tracks, and we switch them, and we pretty much just make them for different industries.
So one of the weird things I always find is people are come to me well, your training's for HVAC. I said, dude, sales is sales.
Sales is sales. It's all the same thing.
I literally will go make the videos, and I'll take the same exact thing and then put it and say the same exact word, but say plumbing, right? Or say electrical, or say cars. And it doesn't really matter what it is, but it's weird because everybody wants to feel like they're all warm and fuzzy. Oh, he knows my industry.
Yeah,
dude, sales is fucking sales.
That's
man.
the truth. It's people skills. It's communication skills. If you know how to connect with somebody, I don't care if I put you in car sales or if I even put you in our company, you probably do all right because you know how to communicate with people and move people towards a decision.
Yeah, and I mean, I had one of my reps for Profit Rocket. He did what's it called, auto refinance, dude. So he was calling. He was calling 400 cold leads, like some people that haven't filled out a form 10 years ago, and calling those all day to convert them.
10 years.
10 years ago, he's like, dude, someone be like, I'm already.
You might
That
as well
guy's
call it a phone book.
That person's fucking dead, and he's like, oh my bad, but you want to refinance your car, right?
Yeah.
And when he came into HVAC and he sold his first month $350,000, which what the fuck? Everybody's like, how's that possible? And then now he's in the Profit Rock and he sold $1.5 million in a month.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, everybody's like, it's how is he coming into all these different industries? I'm like, sales is sales is sales. Yep. It's confidence and knowing when to ask questions and how to ask questions is what pushes you to that next level, I guess.
I believe intention is huge too. You said something earlier, like when you first outreach, you're like, we don't even try to pitch them or anything. Like we just have a conversation. People can smell your intentions, like when you're on the phone, like when you first make a first phone call and they're answering it, like they can smell if you have intentions, whether you got the best product in the world or whether you're like, trying to sell them whatever, whether they're not interested in something. That intention and that gut feeling that you give somebody is the biggest thing that you can give
I think
them.
that's what separates you guys is, when conversating with you, because I met a lot of influencers, I've met a lot of sales trainers from the biggest names to the smallest names, right? And when you meet people, you can tell their intentions. When I met Andy, there's his intentions. Obviously, his job is to sell stuff and make money. That's his business. But his intentions and your intentions and everybody on your team, your intentions weren't just to sell. It's to like, hey, build a relationship. And so many guys, and as they get bigger, they forget about that part, right? Yeah. And people are like, how come I can go start a business and do this? I'm like, I've built trust. Yeah. I've never been out to fuck anybody, and if I do anything wrong, I'll give them their money back or whatever it is. And so many guys are so in it for the quick buck, they forget about the long-term effect of how they treat customers, right? It's trickle down. And we were talking about someone I was listening to his YouTube talking to, or his Zoom call yesterday, talking to his customers, and I'm like, dude, you can't talk to your customers like that. Eventually, you'll have no customers. So you guys want to talk about how you guys really are attentive on how you treat people, because like I said, the second I met you,
people want to feel two things. They want to feel important and they want to feel significant. And I think people go and they think that they need to go and flex or do all these things to impress different people. Our special edge is just making people feel important and significant, and also having no ego, no pride. So if I meet somebody, I was dead broke in L&D 2 years ago. How I treat that person is the same person that I treat, $500 million CEO. It don't matter to me, because that person, just like Andy treated me, like I'm on my way in my head to believe, that I'm on that path. And if I can do that with somebody, then they'll have that same belief. But if I treat them like they're not anybody, which this is where a lot of people miss the ball. How you're going to build your business is by taking the little guys and building them up to be the big guys. Yeah. But a lot of people are trying to, I want to find the big clients and the big deals. You fucking missed it. You take that little guy and you build that guy and you trust that guy and you show him love and you make him feel important, significant. You train him to actually make some money. Dude, he ain't never leaving you. Anytime you call him, and you need something, or, he needs something, or he's going to get better, he's going to keep coming back to do business with you over and over and over. So it started with the little guys, man.
And that's kind of how I built my business. I have a lot of people are like, oh, you only attract the little contractor. And I said, well, I'm okay with that, because there's a lot more little guys than there is big guys. And, some of my clients, and I'm like, I got a client that was doing $300,000 a year last year. He had three trucks on the road, barely making any money. And he just came to my training. He's been to 10 different trainings, but he just hit over $3 million 1 year later. He's got 12 trucks on the road, and he's dominating one of the smallest markets in the country. So where it's like, you can go grow in a big market. He's growing in a market with less than 100,000 people, and he's growing to $3 million in 12 months.
You have to start with the quote unquote smaller guy. We started with salespeople. If we would have went out and tried to start with dealers, I mean, it wouldn't have worked, because the way we've had our whole thing go, we have warm leads coming in for these dealers left and right. Our guys, let me be honest, we don't do a whole lot of cold calling. Yeah. We have so much warm business and so much follow-up from people that have reached out at certain times. I have a better chance at taking, let's say the guy who's a car hand is now the top salesman. I have a way better chance at calling this guy and saying, hey, does your GM like what you've done so far? You think you get your GM on a call? That's how pretty much all these guys sign up.
Well, that resonates with my industry, the people that are listening to home services, right? Going to get a new customer is expensive. It's very hard to get a new customer. So many people in my industry don't even bother to actually reuse the customers they have. Like, I had 70,000 customers in my database. I'm constantly staying in contact with them, asking them for referrals, asking stuff like that, where most people are like, oh, I want the new. And I'm like, dude, a new customer in my industry is $500 per fucking lead. Okay, $500 per customer to call your phone, and then you got to hopefully convert them. When you got thousands of people sitting there, you haven't even called them or talked to them in months or years or whatever it is, and that's where your money's sitting. Your money's not in the new people. The new people are going to come in if you do badass work, but your customers that you have are the ones you really need to nurture. And the same conversation we have with my customers is that, hey, look, once you've done business with me, once you spent money with me, you are ahead of everybody else. So if a new guy calls in tomorrow and he wants service and you call in at the same time and want service, I'm going to the guy that's already spent money with me because you're my family now. And that's how we treat every customer.
That's how you're going to build referrals, and you're going to build an empire anyway. Everyone wants to go, and they want to try to get the new clients. Those clients are harder to get than the guys that have already done business and have seen. If you have a good business and you're doing good work, like which you are and which we are, then they're gonna get results. So it's like, why not ask that person for friends, family, coworkers, for referrals, then go out and try to, build someone back up.
Well, it's also nurturing too. Like, a lot of there's, sales trainers in my industry, and they probably listen to this, and dude, it's a smash and grab. They want to get as much money as they can the very first time, and then if they come back, they come back. Where it's like, dude, if you would have just done, a little bit of business over time, not go and smash the little guy that doesn't have that much money, smash him over his head, take his money, and now he doesn't have any money, and he's never going to do business with you again. I would rather that person keep coming back to me for the next 5, 10, 15 years, a little bit, and not having to take advantage of people. And I think there's so many guys out there that will literally take advantage. I'm like, I charge the least amount of money I possibly can, and if I can't help you, I won't take your money. And that's how I've always operated. And so many people in our industry, in the training industry or whatever it is, they'll take the money even though they know they can't help that fucking person.
They don't realize it's a people business. Like, it's all people. It's not what our training is. It's not, they don't come for the word tracks. We lure people in with sales training, and we show them how to change their fucking life. We tell them, oh, they come in to learn objections. They jump on a Zoom call. Now we're talking about the physical, the mental, the business, and all these things, because I can go and teach you all the word tracks, but nothing can fucking matter if you're an alcoholic, or if you don't treat your girl right, or if things aren't right at home, or if your mental is shit. Like, none of these are gonna stick in your career, because I think as a salesperson and as a business person, if you're trying to learn and grow, then you have to have your mental like above all. But people think they have they're like, oh, I don't need the mental. Dude, yes, you do. The mental toughness, I could take away all the sales training, and I could give you mental toughness. This guy will make more money than the guy that thinks that he has all the training, but he don't have the mental toughness.
Yeah, and it comes out too. So if you want to be a sales rep and you're not confident in yourself and your life or everything you're doing, it's going to come out to that customer, right? Like, when you get to a level where you're confident in everything that you do from the moment you wake up to the time you go to sleep, that customer is going to be able to feel that, right? You could be around some of these sales guys and you can tell they might act big, but they got little dick energy when you really start talking to them, right? And when there's the guys that are so confident in their stuff, it's because they have their shit handled, right? They're not lying to themselves. They're not bullshitting themselves. They can be truthful. When I walk in a room, I don't gotta bullshit. I know who I am, and I know what I stand for. Therefore, everything I say is believable. But so many guys don't even know what they stand for, and then they're trying to get people to believe their bullshit. And sales is a transfer of beliefs from one person to the next. And if you can't transfer that belief, you're never going to be able to sell anyways.
Yeah, we call it the transfer of emotion. If I could take the way I feel about my product and service and push it into you, you'll say yes and pass go every time.
Yeah, and that's the same conversation I have with my sales reps. And I'm like, if you don't believe in the product, you're never going to sell it. Right. And if you can't get the if you don't believe
you might as well leave. If you don't believe in what you sell, go fucking sell something else. You better learn to believe in what you do. Go through the program, do something, or go to sell something else, because it'll never work. You ever seen a sales rep sell something that don't believe in it? It's like the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they don't study either. So I think, when you circle back and you're like, I'm on YouTube and I'm watching Andy and watching all this stuff, people think like, oh, you just showed up and started selling 20,000 or making 20,000 a month. It takes a lot of time and energy and effort outside of work. Like, people think like, I went from, 8 years ago, or it'll be 8 years in March since I got in this industry knowing nothing. Do you think I just fucking magically showed up and I know everything? The amount of time, energy, and effort that we put in behind the scenes to be able to get where we're at. Like, I go talk to people who've been doing this for 30 years and I make them feel insignificant, because guess what? I put in more time, energy, and effort in 8 years than they did in 30 years. And I think that's something that's huge too. So to speak a testament to you is like, you knew nothing about what you're selling 2 years ago to now where you're able to teach it to other people, which is not easy to do. And you teach it with conviction because you put the time, energy, and effort in behind the scenes to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not putting in the work behind the scenes, everything's going to get exposed. I think right now, these next 12 to 18 months, I think our entire industry is going to get exposed. The guys that are truly doing the work, the guys that have truly studied. One thing I like about Andy so much is you can watch a YouTube video from 2 weeks ago and watch another video from 2 weeks, fast forward. He has new language. He's teaching it in a different way, in a different perspective. And also, if you study him closely enough, you can tell that he's taken 10 or 20 different people that have been the best or been the most iconic, the most educational in our industry, and he's taken different things and these different ideas and he's spinning them and making them better.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not doing that and elevating in these areas, because how salespeople are getting paid is by speaking skills. You're getting paid to speak better, to communicate better, to influence, to close, and persuade. And if you're not advancing that technique and that communication skill, you're staying the same. But most people think that like all it is after a certain point is just hard work. Dude, I would much rather learn to get someone to say yes in an easier way. I'd rather put the time in, 2 hours a night training, than sit there and just work my ass off and just make the same amount. It's like,
well, everybody thinks it's reinventing the wheel, right? It's R&D, right? Rob and duplicate. Everything you've done has already been done before. How do I take it and make it better? So you got to R&D, rob and duplicate their shit, and then figure out a way to turn it into something new, and that can make you more money or whatever it is. So we can talk about sales all day. One thing that a lot of my people listen, one of the things they always are wondering is, dude, how did you build a personal brand? So you want to talk about kind of like the power of what Andy's starting to build with his personal brand, what you're working on your personal brand,
100%.
And how that's impacted your business. Because I think a lot of people are so scared to put themselves out there that it almost like it's going to their business isn't going to be able to grow because they're not willing to talk about it.
I always say this, and this is sort of unfortunate, but also very fortunate if you just take action. Someone could be half as skilled as you, but if they have a brand, they're going to steal your customers. And honestly, how I've been able to build my brand, number one, Andy paved a path for me to build it a little faster than most people, but also at the same time, as long as you have some value, you have to have some value, you have to have something fucking good to say, then all you have to do is copycat the guys that are already killing it. Like, if someone wants to kill it, I would look at Victor's videos, and I would say, okay, what is Victor doing? What is Danny doing? What is Andy? What's Brad doing? What is their content? What's built their brand? I would just study the guys that have badass brands, and I would just steal it. Like, I think there's so much information, there's so much stuff on YouTube and on the internet that people think that, like, they need a new technique or a new strategy, when in reality, most people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. I could show you how to build a brand. You know how to build a brand because I'm on your feed every day. So it's like, what is he doing? Okay, he's posting videos and he's got some captions. Okay, let me learn something. Let me post a video and get some captions, and then let me just do it a lot. And then you'll get to a next stage and you'll say, okay, well, this is costing me too much time. I got to pay for it. Yeah. And then you have other guys pay for it. And there's levels to it, but I'm big on three things: consistency, clarity, and community. And those three things that you've built and what Andy's built, and that's what allowed us to scale. So consistency, meaning you're consistently posting, you're consistently liking, commenting, engaging. Clarity, meaning that like they're clear on who you are, what you do, where you're at, how great at what you do. And then community, meaning you're building fans. Yeah. You're building a community of people. You build those three things, that's how you build a true brand that you can actually monetize.
And well, you have to actually be. A lot of people are so worried about doing stuff for free that they're never going to make any money doing it anyways. Because a lot of guys, they want to only put out stuff that's going to be driving them towards their business. Like, I don't talk about buy my product.
You'll lose.
I'm not the fucking ShamWow guy. I'm giving out free information, right, in different ways, right? And then they're like, oh shit, I like that information. How do I get more? Then it leads them down a funnel into what I actually do. But I'm not going out there and saying, oh, come buy my product. No, it's, hey, here's some information. Hopefully it helps you. And then they start following you. And then guess what? Everything else becomes easier to sell.
You need to put your best content out like up front. I think most people are scared, like, oh, I'm just going to put the little nuggets. Like, dude, put the best stuff that you can up front. Put as much as you can. Because people are going to reach out. They're going to want more. What they're really paying for is accountability in our program. It's like there's so much content out there. And there's more advanced stuff that we have. But I tell guys like all the time, man, if you had to write a check out for how much the YouTube content has already made you, do you think it at least would pay for the training that we're about to, sign up for?
Oh, yeah.
And they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, well, what are we waiting on? The only thing that's, stopping you is you. If you've already made the money, you almost owe the guy. Shit, it's more than $300. I know that. I always help you close more than one deal.
Yeah, and it's crazy to even think when you really put a number on it. And I'm like, some of my courses, 2,500, 5,000, 20,000, whatever it is, and they buy them, and I'm like, well, I can't afford that. I was like, how much can you afford not to do it? Because if you keep doing what you're doing, do you think you're going to make any more money? Or I want to wait 3 months from now. And I said, okay, what happens? How much money are you going to lose in that 3 months? And how much money could you have made if you would have bought it? Okay, well now you put it that way, right? And you got to make it almost simple for these guys.
I always tell guys like it costs you more. It costs you more to not do it. The cost of inaction and not doing something. Because imagine this. So let's just take an objection. I always use an objection example. Let's just say, hey, what's your best price? As a sales guy, you're probably getting hit with that more than anything in the world. What's your best price, right? Well, let's just say that guy it's a $500 commission. Well, let's just say he only gets hit with that twice a week, which in reality, if you're a heavy hitter sales guy, you're probably getting hit with that a couple times a day. But let's just say twice a week, just for fair math, right? So that's $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month, just on what's your best price. It's going to cost you way more to not do the training and know how to overcome that than to sit there and not do it. So you have to learn it, or you're just going to be losing money.
No, I agree. So you're 23, right? You're working for Andy, making. Sounds like you're making pretty good money now.
Yep.
Would you agree? Okay.
I'll clear just under $1 million in commissions this year.
$1 million. You hear that? $1 million in commissions. So what's next? Like, I mean, obviously you're working for Andy, you're building this thing out, you're building your personal brand, obviously at some point there's a life after it, man. It is like you could say what you want. You're right now. I think one thing that we're not paying attention to is important. And my camera guys are here too, and I tell them the same thing all the time. I would rather make less money and go be around someone that's going to influence me and give me an opportunity to grow than to just go work at fucking flipping burgers. Anybody can go flip burgers, right? Oh, I talked to some guys like, someone in my office, like, I can make more money doing this. I said, you can, but is it going to make you more money long term? Mm-hmm. So obviously you have the impact of what's Andy's going, but dude, everybody has goals, aspirations, and dreams. I know you do, man. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I see myself still with him. I know that's really hard to believe, but the way that he treats us and what we've built together, again, back to the team, he allows us to build our own brands and platforms. So say I wanted to also have, my own sales training courses and my own things throughout the company. Even if you look at it from a monetary standpoint, the cost of what it would take me to go out and do my own thing and build a brand and money in, money out, like to go and do it, it would almost cost me more money to do it on my own versus doing it with him. And I wouldn't have the team. And also at the same time, the industry, I feel like, a lot of people will bite the hand that feeds them, and they'll go out and it's like, dude, this guy, I'll be honest, this guy's built me to be the person I would to go and be. And I think a lot of people, I'm the shit now. I can do it. It's like, this guy's taught me everything. The way that I speak, the way that I communicate, the way, my intentions has really built me. So I honestly see us just growing this company to be something gargantuous, to be like, a fucking Fortune 100 company in the next 10 years.
So you guys hear that? So I was testing his ass real quick to see what he would do. And this is exactly what happens. So many guys, they start killing it in sales, and they think they can go start their own business, right? And they don't understand what the guy that ran that business, started that business, put in the work behind it. Because I was there, right? I was a young sales guy. I became the top sales guy, and I'm like, I could start my own business. And then I really realized quickly how shitty it is to be the business owner. Being the business owner on a startup fucking sucks, dude. All your money's out. I mean, I went 3 years without paying myself. Like, literally every penny went back into my business just to be able to grow it to where now I make as much from the business as I was making as a sales guy fucking 4 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things is that you have to realize the opportunity that you have and the people that put you in that position. So if you are listening to this and you're like, I'm going to start my own business, most people that have an entrepreneurial seizure usually fail.
This whole and there's nothing wrong with going out to be an entrepreneur. I think what's the statistics on like starting your own business? Like 99 out of 100,
95% failure rate.
95% fail. There's nothing wrong, and I think that all of this influencer stuff, and you guys, once you haven't been in this space long enough to realize that a lot of these guys that you may see as influencers aren't really making the money or are the people that you think them out to be that are on their brands. I'll just tell you that straight up. These people that you think are great people and are making a lot of money, they aren't the people that you think you are. And some of them truly are. You'll tell out of the gate when you can meet somebody if there's someone that's really who they are.
Yeah, and it's everything seems freaking better on the other side. And then when all of a sudden you're in charge of running your own website, you got employees, you got customers yelling at you, dealing with all this shit. It all kind of adds up, man. So like I said, I wanted to test you because we had dinner last night. And you said you were going to do that. So 10 years from now, you guys want to grow this business. How many employees you guys have now?
We got about 60 guys that run around.
60 employees.
We got about 60.
What would you say the makeup of those employees? Mostly sales reps, or what?
So we got about 30, 35 are sales reps. The other 25 are different people in support, different tech for Lightspeed. We have 6, 7 guys that are in digital, media, helping us with social media content that are editing and stuff like that too. every piece of our team is critical to growing. And we got people that are just now coming in that were making, $15,000 that are taking jobs and aren't even in sales jobs, in sales roles, just to be a part of the community and part of the culture to grow because they see where it's going.
Okay,
And
we got to tell this story before we get off this podcast.
do
So
it.
tell me about the guy that came across the country.
Oh,
the
my
guy that came
gosh.
across. Let's talk about this. We were talking about this at dinner last night, and
is
I'm like,
crazy.
holy shit. Let's hear this story a little bit. This one's pretty good.
So we had this guy come in, and I guess he saw something out there that we were hiring, and we're always bringing in people for Real Financial, for Andy and Brad's insurance company, and this guy comes in, and he's in our meeting, and we don't know who he is. We thought he was someone that was part of our new growing insurance company, because people come in and make calls, and they'll come and say what's up. So we had figured that he had to introduce himself to somebody, and someone said he was okay to be there. No idea. He's in our meeting. Andy's having a whole meeting. He's there till 12, until someone's like, dude, who the fuck is this guy? Who is this guy? And then we go in and we realize that he was like, hey, I'm working for you. And he's like, what? Excuse me? And he's like, no, I drove across the country. I work for you now. And he's like, that's not how this works. Like we love you, but that's not how this works. And the whole time he thought it was a test from Andy, to hold his ground and get the job. And about an hour goes by, and he's like, we're having a whole conversation. And he's like, listen, we love you, but you got to get the fuck out, dude. This is getting crazy. The guy's talking about sleeping in his car. I'm not leaving. Cops come. The cops are in there, and they're talking to him, taking notes. And the cops are almost laughing, is this fucking real right now? The guy thought it was also a test that the cops were there. This is how crazy this guy was. And we built some raging fans, man. We built some people.
This is the power of building a brand, right? That's fucking crazy.
We built some raging fans, and people just want to be around us. They come out, just like me. I didn't come out with a pay plan or a guarantee or a fucking draw or anything like that. But this guy comes, and literally the cops take him all the way out, up until literally he leaves and goes home, and they write him a citation or whatever they wrote him, that he then texted back into, which he thought was Andy's phone, but it was our inbound lead number. And he was like, hey, I'm sorry, I thought it was a test. All the way through, he wrote this huge thing, and we're like, dude, man. So all for you guys that want to go and get a job, I don't know if that's the way to go about it. I like the tenacity, and even you've brought on people like that, but there's a better way to go about it. But I like the balls.
You know what? You can't hate the guy for trying, but yeah, that's a little crazy. I heard that last night. I'm like, God damn. It's also scary too, because you never know. I think that's one thing that's always nerve wracking, because we put so much stuff out there into the universe about us, and these people feel like, I got some people that follow me, I watch every video you make, and I watch every word, and I'm like, dude, it gets a little scary.
I think one thing, and I'll leave everybody on this, I like to teach guys on execution over perfection. And I think a lot of guys will watch a lot of your content but not take a whole lot of action.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you turn yourself into a fan versus, an executionist, which is actually what we're trying to teach you to do, is go out and make money from the stuff that we're telling you or we're going to teach you. So if you're taking anything away from this podcast, taking a lot of stuff, the way that I've grown a whole lot and the way that Victor's grown a whole lot is taking information, moving from problem to solution super, super fast, and just execution over perfection. You don't need to perfect the word tracks. You don't need to perfect the training. You don't need to perfect your industry. You just have to jump first, figure out the rest of the shit later, and you'll look up in a few years and you'll build something badass.
Yeah, just keep putting yourself in those rooms, right? That's one thing that I always did, is I put myself in rooms I didn't belong until I belonged, right? And I think that's one thing you can do with all the events and things like that. So if anybody's looking to get some badass training, it doesn't matter what industry you guys are in. I know I got people that listen from all different genres, but if you're looking for badass training, badass accountability, got to check out these guys. Got to check out Danny. Hit him up. What's the best way for them to reach you, Danny?
Yeah, they can reach out. They can reach out to me on Instagram at official Danny Klein, or they can shoot me a text at 540-840-3241. We'll help you guys kill it.
Yeah, reach out to them. I know we're going to be planning some events soon, hopefully with me, Andy, and Danny, putting something together at their facility out in Arizona. But anyways, thank you for listening to the Profit Rocket podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Danny, thanks for coming on. Thanks for flying out to California, man. I'm excited to see what you do over the next couple years. It's going to be fun to watch.
Awesome. Thanks, bro. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.